Nice to meet you, Jimena. My name is Anna, and I'm going to be your helper today. First, I would like to go over our confidentiality agreement, if that's okay with you.
Sounds good.
So anything that we talk about in here is confidential. It's going to remain between the two of us. There are some limits to that, though, being that if you mention hurting yourself or hurting another person with a plan, that is something I have to report. I also have to report any sort of child abuse, sexual abuse, elder abuse, or abuse of a vulnerable adult. So, what brings you in today?
I've just been very stressed lately, and the nurses at my job just really thought that maybe going to counseling would really help me. I'm a CNA and I work with um, elderly residents and with dementia residents, and it just can be a lot sometimes.
Okay, yeah. How long have you been a CNA for?
I've been a CNA for a year and a half.
Do you enjoy parts of that job, or what's kind of keeping you there? What kind of drew you to that?
Yeah, I started by I was gonna go into the nursing program, and so I just thought that being a CNA would help me get and more experience to being a nurse. And I just like the bond I create with the residents because I'm there. I've been there for so long and I care for them every day. So it's definitely fun, but it can be stressful at times.
Yeah, so it sounds like the field overall is kind of something that you enjoy, and you enjoy the people skills of your job and getting to know all the residents.
Yeah, I really do.
Are there any residents that you um, form a bond with in particular, or is it kind of just everything's the same?
Yeah, no, there's definitely certain residents I form more bonds with just because it's a dementia unit. A lot of the residents are just really cute and funny and they're always joking around. So I guess the ones that have more conversations and kind of they ask you the same questions, but it's fun answering different things and yeah, they're just really nice.
Yeah, so it sounds like you have some pretty personable residents that you work with.
Yeah.
Do they kind of help you get through the day and deal with those stressors that you face at work?
Yeah, they definitely do. They make jokes, and it's just you remember why you're there in the first place when they do something that makes you happy or makes you smile, especially when they say thank you a lot or they tell you how much they appreciate you. It just reminds you why you do that work.
Well, it's really nice to hear that you have some very appreciative residents.
Yep,
Yeah.
I do.
So tell me a little bit more about what's stressing you out at work.
I think just having the bond with a resident and then seeing them slowly starting to pass, and then when they actually die is pretty stressful, and just having to deal with that over and over because that's pretty much what working with elderly is.
Yeah, so that sounds pretty hard and pretty emotionally straining, having to get close with someone and then kind of slowly watch them pass away. And that's something that happens quite often at your residence
Yeah,
home.
yeah, it does happen quite often, and I'm also a med tech, so just having to go in there constantly and give them morphine and just hard drugs to make sure they're comfortable. It's also kind of hard to do, especially. It's just a lot of responsibility because I'm not a nurse. I'm just certified to give medication, so I'm always scared I'm gonna do something to make things worse.
Right, you have a lot of pressure on you with that. It's a pretty big job having to give medication to the elderly. Um, so is that something that you were employed to be doing, or is that kind of just something that the job tagged on to you being a CNA?
No, I was employed to do that. They asked me if I wanted to be a med tech, and I agreed. I thought it would also, I mean, it is good experience for the nursing program and just getting to know all the medications, but sometimes I am kind of scared with the narcotics. I just don't want to give them too much, but they always remind us that they would never give us a dosage that would be too much for us to give. So that does make me feel better.
That's good that your bosses are kind of looking out for that, but that definitely does sound stressful having to be in control of that. And those are some pretty strong medications too that you're giving out to people.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, and then my coworkers too. I'm constantly getting new coworkers and it's hard. My whole PM shift quit, so I just got all new staff and they're all brand new. They've never worked as CNAs, and so it's just really stressful, especially with the dementia residents. They just have a certain way you have to care for them, and if you're new, not just getting to know the people, but you're new in the field. It's just been really hard for me.
Yeah, any sort of like overturn with staff can be pretty stressful, especially in a job like yours where getting to know the residents is pretty important and knowing how to care for them is pretty important.
Yeah, I just get home so tired. I can't even sleep anymore.
Do you find that you have to train or kind of like help mentor a lot of the newer employees?
Yeah, I do. I'm a lead at my job, so they really expect me to train them and tell them what to do, but sometimes I tell them and they just don't do it anyway. So I don't I it's also stressful because I don't want my boss to think that I'm not training them right. So I definitely talk to my boss a lot about that. I don't want them to think I'm not training the new workers like I should.
Yeah, that sounds pretty overwhelming and stressful that, it's part of your job to train these people, but it's also not 100% on you if they're not understanding everything fully.
Yeah, but I'm glad I can always talk to my boss and my boss talks to them and that usually works. It happened with one of my coworkers. My boss talked to her and I'm actually starting to like her now. She's a pretty good coworker to work with now.
That's good. It sounds like your bosses are pretty good with communication. Do you find that you have a pretty open relationship with them?
Yeah, I really like my boss. It's kind of like a step, so there's multiple people I can go up to. So I really like all of them. They're really good with communication and they really do look out for me. They don't want me to feel overwhelmed and to quit. So they do appreciate me as a worker. So I do really like that.
Yeah, it's always good to feel appreciated and feel like your bosses care with your job and that they're not just giving you stuff and giving you extra work like training those coworkers. So going back to how this affects your sleep, have you always had issues sleeping or is this kind of something that's a little more recent?
No, this is something recent. I've always slept good, so I don't know if it's just having to work those extra hours or just more stress on the job that makes me just stay up or kind of just like toss and turn. So yeah, this has been pretty recent.
When you stay up at night, do you find that you're often like thinking about work or thinking about your work responsibilities?
Yeah, sometimes I just keep thinking about things that happened at work, and sometimes I think about what I forgot to do when I was at work. Like I was supposed to do something, and then I don't remember until I get home, and then I feel bad about that.
Well, that's hard. Yeah, that kind of wavering feeling of, oh, did I get something done? Did I do everything correct? Um, that's definitely a struggle a lot of people deal with, and it's pretty difficult. But have you tried anything to help you go to sleep at night or stay asleep at night?
Yeah, I got an eye mask because I know sometimes there's some lights from the parking lot lights, so it goes in through my window. So hopefully that'll help me. And I'm trying melatonin, so hopefully that does help me. So
Okay, so you have some good ideas of things that you could do to help. Those both sound like pretty strong suggestions. Do you find that you have trouble staying asleep at night or just falling asleep?
no, I think it's just falling asleep. So I think once I fall asleep, I'm pretty good.
Yeah, once you get past that, having to actually go to bed and fall asleep.
Yeah, I think I just need to take away distractions too. I use my phone a lot, so that doesn't help.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty common being on your phone before going to sleep. I know that I do that too. Do you have any sort of like bedtime routine that you go through, or do you just kind of come home from work and go to sleep?
I kind of just come home and shower and go to sleep. So a routine would be nice though, but I'm not really sure where to start.
Yeah, no, there's definitely um, a lot of places you can look for that. There's a lot of places on the internet that you can kind of look up like a relaxing or unwinding routine before bed. Um, so when you just come home, do you live alone or do you live in an apartment?
Yeah, I have an apartment. I do live alone. Well, I do have a pet. I have a cat, so I guess it's nice coming home to my cat and kind of cuddling in bed with my cat.
Do you find that your cat kind of helps you de stress after a stressful day at work?
Yeah, she really does. It's nice coming home and she's looking for me, so she does want my attention, so it's nice that I can sit and pet her when I come home from work.
Yeah, it's nice to have, kind of someone waiting for you and that you can give a little love to before bed.
Yeah, that is pretty nice. She's a nice cat. Her name is Cleo.
Oh, that's a good name.
Yep.
How long have you had Cleo?
I've had her for 4 months. No, I've had her for 3 months, but she's 5 months old. She's still a little kitty. But yeah. I feel like I've had her for longer though, but yeah, I've only had her for 3 months. She's growing really fast.
Yeah. No, definitely. Time goes by when you get a little pet or...
Yeah. Especially because she's such a little kitty. Kitties grow fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, so it sounds like you have some pretty good ways to kind of cope with your stress with either being with your cat or you're going to try the eye mask and the melatonin. I know that that's definitely hard to come home and still be thinking about work and thinking about your job. Is this something before you were a CNA that you dealt with too, or just kind of since being a CNA?
I guess I've dealt with it a little bit, not too much though, but I think ever since being a CNA, just because it's, I guess, a bigger responsibility and a different job, I think about it more, or it's affected me more than before.
Okay, yeah. Have you been a CNA at the same place since you started being a CNA, or have you been a CNA at multiple residence homes?
No, I've been a CNA at the same place, so I guess I really like my job, so I didn't want to move to a hospital or to a different location. I like my job. I like the place I work at.
Yeah, so it sounds like you really like it, but it's still very stressful because it is a big responsibility having to be someone's caretaker, and especially with the medication you mentioned earlier, that can be very stressful addition to the job.
Yeah.
So I know that you said you talk to your bosses and stuff a lot. Have you ever talked to them about the kind of stress that you deal with, or?
Yeah, occasionally I do. So they do care about us, so that's why they recommended the counseling. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's really good to hear that they give you guys kind of a nice outlet with recommending the counseling and all of that. Is counseling something you've ever done in the past?
No, I've never done counseling before.
Okay, so this is kind of your first time, a new experience for you.
Yeah.
Was it something that you were open to, or was it kind of something that you, because I know a lot of people have a stigma or feeling around it?
Yeah, no, I thought I feel pretty open about it. I mean, it's not gonna hurt me. Worst case is I don't get anything from it, but no, I'm pretty open to anything to try. I mean, anything to make things better. And
Yeah.
it's nice talking to someone, so.
Yeah, you sound pretty open-minded and pretty just open to kind of anything that will help with these stressors and things like that. Is work the only thing that stresses you out, or are there other things like any home life or any other issues?
Yeah, I guess lately I've just been arguing a lot with my sister. So she's younger than me, and I want her to look up to me, but sometimes she's just so annoying. So it's hard to not argue with her.
Yeah, so you and your sister, you kind of want to take that older mentorship role, but it can be stressful when she gets on your
Yeah.
nerves.
Yeah, she says I'm bossy, but I'm just looking out for her, so I don't know why she gets so upset. She doesn't get it.
How much younger is she than you?
She's only 2 years younger than me, so we are pretty close in age. So I guess I can see how she thinks I'm bossy. But
Right, yeah. 2 years can be pretty close, but at the same time, it's enough distance for you to kind of feel like you've experienced some of the stuff that she's going to go through and that you want to kind of lead her in the right direction.
yeah, I'm just looking out for her. But yeah.
Yeah, have you guys always had a pretty back and forth relationship, or are you guys close and this is just something that you're dealing with recently?
No, I guess we've always had a back and forth relationship since we were smaller. So it's nothing new, but now that we're older, I kind of wish we could stop arguing and just get along.
Yeah, kind of seems like when you're younger, it's not as much of an issue, but then as you get older, you kind of want that more of a close sibling relationship dynamic.
Yeah, it would be nice if I could talk to her too about my work issues, and she could also talk to me about anything that stresses her out.
Yeah. So have you tried to talk to her about any of this, or is this just kind of you deal with on your own and you're kind of just like, oh, well, she's my younger sister. It's just how it is.
Yeah, sometimes I think that way, but other times I try to talk to her, but she doesn't really want to listen. So, I mean, I guess there's nothing I can do about that, but I don't know. I guess I like bugging her too, so that's kind of on me.
Yeah, so it sounds like you both can kind of get on each other's nerves and that you'd like to talk to her, but she's not always super responsive. That can be pretty hard.
Yeah, I think I just bug her too much where now she doesn't take me serious.
Okay, yeah, so you kind of push a little too hard maybe and it gets kind of overwhelming for her.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure how to approach her anymore so she can think I want to get closer and not just bug her.
Yeah, that sounds difficult. That sounds like you really want to have that relationship, but you're not really sure how to go about like trying to bring you guys closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a struggle, and that's something that we can go and talk about in future sessions and keep talking about. And I feel like the more that you kind of bring it up to her being pretty serious, she might be a little bit more responsive, because I know you said she doesn't always listen, but that definitely sounds like it's important to you to become close with her and to build that relationship.
Yeah, I guess I'll just keep trying and eventually she'll see that I don't want to argue with her anymore.
Yeah, it sounds like you're kind of trying to move past the whole argumentative thing and you want to build more of a friendship type bond with her. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep, that's exactly what I want to do with her.
Yeah, that's seems pretty important. It's always good to have people on your side and people that you can talk to and discuss the work stresses with, and if she has any stresses too, to have her kind of lean on you as well.
Yeah. Yep, I really want to be there for her too.
Yeah, it sounds like this is something that's important to you. Has she ever talked about wanting to build more of a relationship with you as well?
No, she really hasn't. So I think maybe that's what bothers me because she kind of just isn't. She's really independent, so she doesn't really like talking to people or anything like that or talking about her feelings. So yeah, it's kind of hard to read her.
Yeah, so you're not really sure how much of the feelings are being reciprocated because you can't really tell always.
Yeah, yep, it's hard. So I can't tell if she's annoyed or not. So I don't know to keep talking or to just give her some space.
Yeah, reading people's emotions can be pretty difficult, and especially if it's someone that you want to continue building a bond with, you don't want to cross that line of pushing too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it looks like our session is starting to come to an end. So I know that we talked about your work stresses and how that sometimes carries over into your home life and how that can cause issues with you sleeping. You mentioned you were going to try melatonin and using an eye mask and see if that helps at all. Those sound like pretty good coping mechanisms. And then also talking about your relationship with your sister, how that's very important to build that bond. And it's not something you really want to give up on, but it's not something you want to push too hard with. And these are all things that we can talk about in future sessions if you'd like to come back. I know you said it was your first time coming to therapy, so if it's something that you want to continue talking to someone, I'm always open for that. If you want to schedule more sessions, we can either do that now or you can do that up at the front desk. But it was really good talking to you today, and it was really nice to hear from you.
Sounds good. I agree. I will definitely schedule some appointments up front then. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time, and
Yep.
have a nice rest of your day.
You too.